a gentleman who has managed Major League Baseball for several decades and who just got done managing the Florida Marlins. He knocked my Chicago Cubs out of the playoffs not once but twice, not only with the Marlins but also with the Padres back in 1984. Jack McKeon, how you doing, Jack?
Good, guys. Good.
So, Jack, when are you going to come back and manage again? The Cubs need a manager.
Well, I'm always on call.
What do you think what's going on here in Chicago here? They're talking about trying to get Theo Epstein to be the GM, president, whatever, popcorn salesman.
Well, I don't know. You know, that's a very, very special franchise, and I'm sorry to see you guys haven't won in so many years, but once again, you got to go back and look and say, hey, what's going on here? Are we picking the right players? Have we got the right people in charge? Who knows? But you know, it's a crapshoot. You know, you got to have the players to win, and evidently in the past, you've had good players, but you never could seem to put it all together.
Well, you look at some of those Cub teams with Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, Randy Hundley, Kessinger, Beckett, and you think they couldn't win with those guys? Because that was a pretty impressive daily lineup they tossed out there.
Well, that's no question. That's like 84. You had a good club. 2003, you had a good club, but you just couldn't get over the hump for some reason. And I don't think it's the curse. I think it's just a case of, hey, I didn't have the right players. I had the right players for the regular season, but I didn't have the playoff players.
In 84, when you were managing the Padres and the Cubs had you down 2-0, did you think, you know what, how are we going to come back and win this series?
Well, I tell you, you know, I never thought how we're going to come back and win it. I thought we'd win it, but yet on the other hand, you say, hey, you got to be realistic about it. You know, they're coming. You're down 2-0 in the 5-game series. Chances are not good, but I always thought we could win it, just like in 3. I just, you know, didn't give up hope, thinking that because Pryor and Wood were going to pitch against us, and they had really dominated us most of the year. But I don't know. I had a bunch of guys that were pretty dedicated to winning, and they knew how to wait for an opening. And if an opening came up, they came through in style.
So there was no point in the 03 playoffs where you said, well, it looks like the Cubs are going to go to the World Series. I was watching that Game 6 in the press box, and I said, okay, it's never happened in my lifetime, but at 5 outs to go, it sure looks like the Cubs are going to be in the World Series.
Well, I never thought, you know, like I said, you always wait for an opening, and we got that opening. But when you look at 84, I never forget sitting in my box. I was the general manager at the time. I wasn't the manager. And I was sitting in my box, and the president of the club came over, and it was 3-0, and he said, it doesn't look good. I said, no. I said, Sutcliffe's getting the ball up now. We're starting to hit this guy. We get a couple runs here, we'll beat him. And fortunately, we got a run, and the next inning, you know, the ball went through Durham's legs, and the rest is history. But I just, like I said, both times we were down, and it looked like it was the end of the line, but we were able to battle back.
I think your biggest coup with the Padres back then was getting Steve Garvey from the Dodgers because, I mean, Garvey was the Dodgers, and you took the face of the Dodgers and brought him over, and you gave the Padres credibility.
Well, there's no question about that, but I think the key to the 84 series was when Jim Fry didn't bring in Lee Smith. And I know why. As all managers, stick with your big winner. Sutcliffe was a 18-game winner, and Cy Young, whatever it was, had a great year. And you know, you kind of lean on those, sort of like the Pedro Martinez situation in Boston. You kind of want to go the extra mile with that guy that carried you so far. And I know Lee Smith's warming up in a bullpen, and I'm saying, God, don't bring him in, because all Lee had to do was throw his glove on the mound, and we were done. And fortunately, you know, he stayed with Sutcliffe. I mean, and before you know it, he never got to use him.
So what do you make of Ozzie Guillen coming to the Marlins?
Well, he's a popular guy down there. He was my coach in 3, and the fans love him. And I think the organization decided that going into a new stadium, we want to bring a popular guy in here, a guy that had won a World Series before, and is a good baseball man. And hopefully that he will all of a sudden pull some magic and turn it around.
Did you realize Ozzie was going to be that good of a manager when he was on your coaching staff?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
What made him qualified to be a manager?
Well, I thought the way the guy played the game, he was almost like Larry Bow and those guys that I'd hire Larry. They're good baseball, man. Now, the question is, can you handle 25 guys? But, I mean, overall intelligence on the baseball field, this guy was a very, very sharp player. And he knew how to relate, especially to the Latin players. And I always thought he had the qualifications to be a good manager.
Now you look at baseball in Florida. Marlins are getting a new stadium. The Rays won a new stadium. But neither team seems to be able to fill out their existing stadium. Is baseball ever going to be successful to the level that we see in Boston, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and elsewhere? I
think this will be a good test. I think the new stadium will be a real test. We have a very difficult time down there playing in a football stadium with 68,000 seats available, and when you have 20,000 people, it looks like you got an empty stadium. And, then they're always tearing the field up, especially in August or September, to convert, and you're playing football and baseball in the stadium. Plus the fact that it rains all the time. And it rains during 5 o'clock. 4 to 6 o'clock, you're going to get a shower. Now, if you're up in Palm Beach County or somewhere up in West Palm, Boca Raton, somewhere like that, and you say, well, I don't want to go to the ball game and get rained out, or I don't want to get rained on all the time. So I think the rain factor is a situation that's going to be corrected by the Stone Stadium. And plus the fact that I think here we're putting it downtown Miami. Now we're going to find out, does Miami really want to support Major League Baseball? And this is our team now, the Miami. It's not Florida, it's Miami. And I really think that the area will get behind it and we'll draw well. And in a few years you'll find out, is Florida worthy of having Major League Baseball?
You mentioned Larry Boa working under you. He never got another opportunity to manage after the Padres. I mean, what's the reason for that?
No, what are you talking about? He went back to the Phillies and managed for 3 or 4 years.
Oh, okay, I forgot about the Phillies.
Yeah, because we ended up beating them out in 3.
But he does a much better job, it seems, on MLB Network, analyzing the game.
He does a good job. He's a good baseball man. And, a lot of times you're a good baseball man, but you don't have good players, or you have good players and that can't seem to get the best out of them.
How has managing changed from when you started in 73 to 2011?
Well, the players are bigger, smarter, more focused today, and I think they're more intelligent players coming into the game today, and that's because of the advent of television, and they're seeing so much of, the college, the programs are much better, the coaching in the high schools, colleges are much better. These guys get plenty of, get a chance to see many television games and learn by listening to the sportscasters and so forth. So I think you got a smarter players coming into the game. Plus the fact I think you got with the strength and the conditioning programs around the country today, guys are taking better care of themselves. They're getting bigger, stronger, and that's certainly going to help too. And also they see that the salaries are going up pretty good, so they work a little bit harder to get in a pretty good position to make some big money.
Are managers getting smarter as well?
I don't think the manager's getting any smarter. I think they've always been smart. But the problem is you got players today now. It's not like years ago when we broke in. It was a case where you didn't want to go talk to the manager because you're afraid he might tell you, hey, you're shipping you out somewhere. Today, these guys want an explanation for everything. And, I tell you, I think Sandberg said it great at his Hall of Fame speech when he says, so many guys today in the big leagues do not have the respect of management, managers, coaches, and don't even have respect for the game. And I think that's true. I think they're all looking for some money. They make big money, and respect is gone out the window.
Now, are you big on use of computers for managers? I know Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan have their little notebooks and things like that.
Yeah, my notebook is right in my head. And, I do read the stats a lot. I do look over the computer printouts. But, that's just like, the Phillies sticking up Francisco, the pinch hit the other night. He hit the 3-run homer when his previous stats are 1 for 19 or 0 for 19, whatever it was. I mean, so where does the computer, that's the only thing that bothers me, is where does the computer come in when it says, this guy shouldn't be put up there. This other guy, Ross Glode, or one of them other guys should be pinch hitting instead of this guy because he got better stats. I'll never forget a time when I was managing the Marlins, and Tom Glavine was pitching, and we had a catcher named Pudge Rodriguez, and we also had another catcher named Mark Redmond. And I got a call one day from one of the executives to say, "Who's playing tonight? Who's catching?" I said, "Pudge." And they said, "Don't you know that Redmond hits 800 against Glavine?" I said, "Good. I don't care if he hits 8,000. Pudge is going to catch." Well, what happens? Pudge hits a home run in the first inning, a 2-run homer. We win the game 2-0. So, I mean, am I going to go by computers? Yeah, the stats indicate Redmond should have caught that day.
Did that stop the phone calls?
Yeah, that took care of that. The guy comes and said to me, "I'll never make another suggestion again."
I talked to you in July, one Saturday afternoon. I asked you to come on the show, and you said, "Dave, I can't. I'm going to be traveling on Thursday." The next day, you're named the manager of the Marlins. Did you know that Saturday that they're going to name you the manager?
Recap that again, Dave.
I talked to you on a Saturday in the afternoon, and you said
Saturday afternoon, okay.
And then you said you couldn't come on the show Thursday. You're going to be traveling. The next day, the Marlins introduced you as their manager. Did you know the day before that you're going to be the Marlins manager?
That was on Saturday. No, Sunday. I went to church on Sunday morning and came back from church, and my wife said, "You had a phone call from the Marlins." And I said immediately, she said that Eddie Rodriguez had resigned. And I said, "Oh, well, they want me to manage the club." So that's how it happened. So I didn't know that until Sunday afternoon.
So it wasn't divine intervention?
No, probably. Let me see. I'm trying to think where I was traveling. I don't know where I was. I don't know where I was traveling.
I thought George Burns came to you and said, "Jack, I got something for you to do. I want you to go manage the Marlins again." Kind of like an old god.
Well, I'm considered, really a takeover guy. I take it. This is the 5th club I've taken over mid-season. So I'd rather take clubs over the middle of the year.
Could you have saved the Cubs this year?
Could I what?
Could you have saved the Cubs if you took them over in June or July?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think there was, to me, you got to have winners. And you just can't saddle yourself with guys that maybe put up good numbers, but they don't fit into the program. They're not winners. I want winners.
So if the phone rang this off season, would you take another job?
Possibly.
Or it has to be a certain job.
I'm not done. I'm not done. I got one more goal in mind.
What's your goal?
That's to pass Connie Mack as the oldest in the history of the game. And I got to wait 6 years.
Okay. Well, you got to do something between then and now.
Well, I work now as a special advisor to the owner. It was, that was my previous job before I went back. But I'm always on call for the Marlins. Yeah. Can't get in trouble with Ozzie. I'm on call.
How long is that going to take before Ozzie says something stupid?
I don't have any idea.
But I think he'll have more leeway in Florida.
Yeah, he will. They like him down there, and they love him in Chicago too. But sometimes, like you said, other guys said you need a new voice.
Well, and sometimes a manager tends to run his course, his tenure with one team. It seems.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, to me, the maximum was 4 years. And after 4 years, they get tired of listening to you unless you're with the Dodgers. But if I was a general manager again, and I had a good manager, I would quit blaming the manager for lousy teams. I'd start putting some of the blame on myself for not supplying the guy with some good players.
The only thing that scares me about Florida is you had Girardi down there. He was very successful, and it seems like Gloria ran him out of town.
Well, I guess I don't know what happened. I wasn't down there at the time. I live in North Carolina, so I don't stay up to date on daily stuff down there. But I guess there was some friction there, and I don't know what the details are, but I know there was some friction there.
Let's go back to the 03 playoffs, the Cubs and Marlins. Do you think that the tide turned with Bartman or with the ball going through Gonzalez's legs?
I would think it was going through Gonzalez's legs.
So is that when you knew you guys were in good shape?
Yes, sir. I didn't think anything. I didn't think the Bartman situation was the indicator that we were going to win that thing. But when the ball was booted by Gonzalez, I knew we were going to win it.
So do you think that the manager at the time, Dusty, should have pulled out Pryor and put in his closer rather than ride Pryor?
I don't know. That's something that the manager has to decide. That's a tough question. If I said yes, you're second guessing Dusty, and that's not the case. You don't know. I mean, if the guy executes well and gets out of that inning, it's great. Here you got one of the top pitchers in the game that's just mowing us down one by one, and all of a sudden we get a breather there. We get a break, and we cash in. But I don't know.
But you rode Josh Beckett's arm that playoffs, and he won those playoffs in the World Series.
That's the risk. One thing I learned from the owner of the Marlins, Jeffrey Loria: no risk, no reward. And I pitched. Beckett pitched a 2-hit shutout on Sunday down in Florida, and I said to the pitching coach, "We'll give him a day off, and if we have to use him, we'll use him." Well, we'll use him for an inning or two. Well, he got by the first inning, buzzed him. Second inning, I said, let him go 2. He buzzed him the second. Let him go 3, and let him go 4, and that's what happened. And he kept the Cubs at bay, and the rest of the guys came in. But if you look at that series, the keys to that series was me using my starting pitchers in the bullpen: Penny, Pavano, Beckett, Willis. They all contributed. Because I looked at it this way: this is a 7-game series. We're down 3-1. Hey, we got all winner the rest. These guys go all winner the rest, and adrenaline was flowing amongst our guys. And Beckett and those guys were anxious to get out there and pitch. They wasn't one of them kind of guys. Well, I'll see how my arm feels, and give me the ball. And when you have guys like that, you're not afraid to take a chance with those guys.
Could you see Carlos Zambrano pitching for the Marlins next year?
I have no idea. I read all that stuff about him coming back, but I don't know. That'd be some kind of a duo, him and Ozzie.
Yeah.
Can you imagine those two on the boat together? It could be interesting. They're in Miami.
But the funny thing is, Zambrano, in 3 was a pretty good pitcher. He was tough on us. I think he threw a 1-hitter one time against us, and I probably had more worries about Zambrano than I did Curry Wood or Mark Pryor. But we were able to get him, and then able to get the other 2 guys as well.
You were in great shape in Game 7 because I had no faith in Kerry Wood, because it seems like you put the pressure on this guy. He seems like he chokes all the time. He's not a big-game pitcher.
Well, like I said, the times that we played him during the regular season, they seemed to be able to put the numbers on the board, with the offensive power that they had, and we kind of struggled with them during the regular season, especially Wood and Pryor.
What's your favorite moment in baseball?
Winning the World Series in 2003.
Is that your favorite team?
That's my favorite team, right.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. McKeon. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Hey, I enjoyed talking to you guys, and thank you for having me.
And I'll see you again in 6 years managing, 6.5 years.
You bet.
We'll look forward to it.
We'll be breaking Connie Mack's record, and I'll be the oldest manager in the history of the game.
Thank you. God bless.